Hello and welcome to Enchantment of Eternity's live discussion on Avengers Endgame, and as it says in the title of this video twice and in the description a couple of times, spoilers. This is going to be a full-on spoilers video, so please, under no circumstances you want to watch this if it's spoilers. I know there's going to be people joining the chat later. That's why I put spoilers twice. So just a fair warning. We're going to go into some heavy duty spoilers, and I think this movie is better to watch if you haven't seen it. But anyway, joining me here to talk full spoilers about Avengers Endgame, Akton Tamko. Thanks for this stopping by at short notice.
Yeah, no problem. I was probably going to do a live video on my own if you didn't invite me to this. So I'm glad that we can just talk about it together. Yeah, I'm glad to talk about the spoilers with you. Spoilers. There's some huge spoilers. Have you noticed, like my Facebook and other places, like there's all these like ads and like campaign, like please do not spoil Endgame. Like there's all these, like there's a thing I saw with the whole cast going, don't spoil Endgame.
Oh, really?
Like a public service announcement, don't spoil it.
Yeah.
So I would beg anyone who wants to watch us talk to not spoil the movie for themselves. Please do not spoil it. No, don't spoil it for yourself. There's lots of spoilers in this spoiler discussion.
Okay, so Carrie091 asked a really, really silly question. And really silly. Which is better, Avengers Endgame or Star Trek Voyager Endgame? Come on. Pretty much anything is better than Voyager Endgame. It's kind of funny that a movie this good shares a name with an episode that horrible. But anyway, so if you haven't left yet and you don't want to be spoiled, quick non-spoiler before you go. It was great. It was awesome. Okay, now you can go.
It was awesome.
Anyway, Abkin, why don't you start with you? Because I actually don't know what you thought of this movie.
Yeah, I don't know what you thought of it either, but, except for just now you said it was great. It was awesome.
Yeah, why don't you give some thoughts on that?
Well, you know what? I really looked at this. When I was watching it, I was thinking of this as comparable to a series finale to a television show. I mean, there's going to be another Spider-Man movie. I mean, there's going to be more Marvel movies, but I think this is the end of this particular story with this particular group of characters. We might see, I don't know what actually they have planned in the future. I don't know if we're going to see Guardians of the Galaxy 3 with Thor in it or whatever, but I think that this is the end, and I was one of those losers who stayed to the very end to watch the post-credit scene, and there wasn't one, so that to prove that this was the end. So, and anyways, I thought of this as a series finale of like a television show, and in that context, this is one of the best series finales I've ever seen. Like it was up there with. To me, my favorite is Next Generation. All good things. It was a very good closure for all the characters. Some of the endings for some of the characters I didn't love. I didn't love the Captain America thing, but I thought there was good closure for all of these characters. Even the couple ones that died. Spoilers. We're going to talk about who died. Spoilers. So to stop watching it if you haven't seen it. But the characters that died. I thought it was just good closure for everybody, and even though some of them are going on to other adventures, it still was a good closure to the story. And the ending scene when everybody comes in with those Doctor Strange things, and there's this huge fucking battle, like everybody in my theater was cheering. Like it was awesome. So I thought this was a really great like series finale, basically. And we get Captain America saying "Avengers Assemble," which I don't think he's ever actually said. I remember at the end of Civil War, or was it Civil War? Ultron. Ultron. He's like, "Avengers," and they cut it off. I'm like, what? Yeah. But I always remember that as a kid. That's the thing I remember about the comic books. They would always have on the cover Captain America saying, "Avengers Assemble." So I thought that was fucking awesome. I thought this was a great finale. This may very well be my favorite Marvel movie. It probably is. So yeah, I loved it.
I'm ready to call it. I'm ready to say that this is my favorite Marvel movie. This is my favorite movie in MCU. I'm not going to wait till the end of the video. I'll just say right now, I give this movie a 10 out of 10. Simba Trey in the chat just says or else. Give this a 10 out of 10 or else. So I guess you don't have to or else because I'm I'm giving this a 10.
Yeah, I was between a 9 point. You know how I am. I get 0.5, so I was between a 9.5 and a 10. I hadn't quite decided yet, but yeah, I'm up there with you.
Yeah, so absolutely, this movie was everything that I was hoping it was be. It was what I was hoping Infinity War would be, and it's funny because well, you and I don't see eye to eye on Infinity War because it's funny. I was watching your review earlier that you put out, and you said that you thought you liked Infinity War better after rewatching, and I actually liked it less after rewatching. I think I give it like a 5 or a 6. I had a lot of issues with Thanos. I thought Thanos was a Mary Sue, and I thought some of the stuff was contrived. Let's not even get into the Star-Lord thing because, oh boy, how do I disagree about that. But this movie, Endgame, was everything. Like all the issues I had with Infinity War, none of it was present in Endgame. Like I thought they had the right amount of Thanos in it. I didn't think there were any like contrived or convoluted plots. I thought everything worked perfectly. That doesn't mean it was completely free of plot holes. Like the time travel logic is a bit, but it didn't bother me because everything else in this movie was so good. It was so perfect. And like the moments at the end, like you said, the Avengers assemble, like that was so great. And also, like, I can't get over. To me, I think is the best moment in the entire MCU, bar none, is when Thanos has the thing and he's like, "I am inevitable." He snaps his fingers, but there's no Infinity Stones. And you look over, and spoilers. By the way, I'm really spoiling the shit out of it. But you look over and you see Iron Man has all the Infinity Stones. He's like, "I am." I knew he was going to say, "I was like Iron Man." Like that.
Yeah, I was just waiting for the. But yeah, and he really drew it out. He paused it. I am. Almost to the point where I thought he might say something different. But he's like, Iron Man. It was great. It was great.
And I've heard a lot of people say, like, oh, this movie is fan service. Now, you and I talked about fan service, and the definition we use, this wouldn't fit it, because the definition we use of fan service is it's inherently bad for the plot and it's just done to appease fans. Where this stuff, sure, it's done to appease fans, but in a good way, in the way that should be done. Like this is everything, and I guess I can see why some people would use that term fan service because it is servicing the fans, but I don't know. It's not how I use that term. It's what you need to do. It's exactly like the Avengers assembles the whole Infinity. I am Iron Man. Like this is pretty much exactly what I wanted out of this movie.
Yeah, I'll also say the first part of the movie, as I was watching it, I wasn't sure if I was going to love it. I was like, I don't know if we're going to end up in a good place here or not. Like, I wasn't sure, but then we really did end up in a good place. I was worried about that. The only time we would see Thanos would be that beginning scene. There was like, if that's it, then that's going to suck. So I'm glad they brought in Thanos from the past, comes back to the future, and so that we actually get a satisfying defeat of Thanos. So
I kind of had the opposite reaction. I was like, I hope that's all we see it there because I just didn't like Thanos, especially after the rewatch. I think it was the biggest issue I had. So I was like, oh, good, they got him out of the way. And so they brought him back. I was like, oh no, they're bringing him back. But what they did with him, I thought was worth it. I was like, okay, it satisfied me.
Yeah, no, I like Thanos as a villain because he's a megalomaniac, he's a psychopath, but he thinks he's totally right, and when he's done, he doesn't like rule the world. He just goes and lives in a little cabin and has a fire. I loved Rhodey's line. It was like, "Oh, great, Thanos has a retirement plan." But. Yeah, no, I thought it would have been really anticlimactic if that's just it. Really, I expected a war against Thanos. That's what I wanted, and that's what I got at the end.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, I know a lot of people were unhappy, even though he came back, because they were expecting the whole movie to be about them taking on Thanos. I wasn't. I was expecting it to be about time travel. Now,
yeah,
part of that was because I was a bit spoiled. I think several months ago, I saw a behind the scenes shot of them filming a scene, and they were refilming the scene from the Avengers. So, and it showed like people from the future going back in that time. So I knew from that spoiler that they were going to travel back to the first Avengers movie. But I think even if I didn't know that, just the way they were setting up Ant-Man and the whole time travel thing and Ant-Man and the Wasp, it seemed to me they were setting up for the end game to be about time travel rather than to be.
Mark, I never saw that spoiler. I never heard of any spoilers for it. I knew it was time travel. Like, it was very obvious. Like you didn't need to see any spoilers to know that. Yeah, it was very, very obvious that that's what the direction they were headed. And I didn't see any spoilers, and I knew that.
And I've heard some people with the opinion that they didn't really like the first hour because they thought it was a bit boring or they thought the movie was too long overall. And I could not disagree with that more. I thought I liked the first hour. I liked the character moments. I liked the scenes when Captain America was in that support group and they had one of the directors play a guy saying he went out on a date and they both started crying. Like this to me is the kind of stuff that makes this movie great. This small details and the character moments and seeing Ant-Man go into the memorial and see it reminds me a lot of The Leftovers.
Exactly what I was about to say, Mark. I was really about to get into The Leftovers. So
it's like The Leftover on steroids, though, because
exactly
it's only 2%. And this is 50%.
Yeah, that's what kind of the support group thing where it's like, and we just cried, and that was like this is The Leftovers on steroids, but they don't focus. The whole movie doesn't focus on that. They just give you a glimpse of that to set the scene that this is how it is now.
Yeah, and I think we needed that though. We needed world building. We couldn't just jump straight into them doing the time travel plot or the Thanos plot or whatever. We needed that. Setting the stage and the world building, and that's why I loved it. And I love all the details of the going back in time and how they really take a moment to really service all of these characters, or the main ones like Thor and Iron Man. I think the arcs are beautiful. So I don't know. I think everything about this worked.
Yeah, and I don't know if this is a good time to start talking about it now, but at some point I do want to talk about the time travel because you mentioned the time travel logic at the beginning of this. So I did want to talk about that at some point. Is now a good time? Or
yeah, now's a good. I was just point out in the chat how Valentine Voss said, "I love the first hour, gave room to let things again." Exactly, that's it. Exactly. Yeah, time travel. Yeah. Go right ahead.
Yeah. Well, and also before I get into the time travel at all, I also wanted to mention that I did love that they did go to this 5 years later where everybody's lives is completely different now, and Thor has the big beer belly, and the Hulk is
that was great.
Yeah, the Hulk is Bruce Banner / Hulk, and because I've seen this many times in other shows where there's this future where everything is changed now, but then that future doesn't necessarily come to pass, they go back and change the past, and that future never happens or something like that. I like that they kept that. Now it did change the fact that everybody got brought back, so it's no longer the leftovers. However, it wasn't like they went back in time and changed that, so all that stuff never happened. That's what I was worried they would do.
Well, let me get into that because I actually disagree with you there. I actually was hoping. Not hoping, but I don't know. I get your point of view, but I kind of think it makes it a bit wonky that there was 5 years without people, then all of a sudden they're coming back. So that means loved ones will be 5 years older. What if a teenager came back and had a friend and now they're in their 20s? What if someone and his wife disappeared and they remarried and now their wife shows up again? That's going to be awkward. And plus all of the things like the baseball stadiums and everything seems shut down because only 50% of the world left. So it seems like they're gonna come back, and I don't know. It just seems really wonky to me, and I actually kind of would have preferred if they at least erased those 5 years.
So what? Things are going to be wonky. That's part. That doesn't bother me. I mean, yeah, things will be wonky. No, it's just so cliched to like, oh, here's what their life could be like. Oh, we're erasing that, and now their life's going to be completely different. I'm so tired of that. I've seen that so many times.
I think if it's done right, it works, and I think if they did it here, it would have worked.
Yeah, I don't know, but I want to get into time travel logic because you seem to not like the time travel logic, and I would disagree with you on that. I thought this was great because it's interesting that you and I just had a discussion about Discovery, talking about 2 types of time travel, and this was a 3rd type of time travel. This is type 3, which I'm struggling to think of other works of fiction that have used this. What is
2009 Star Trek, the Abrams Star Trek stuff,
right? Which that doesn't ruin that whole type of time travel logic for me.
And apparently they use this same type of time travel in the comic books. So by sticking to this, it's true. But since you bring it up, let me tell you what my issue with it is, because I don't mind that type of time travel. But again, as I was talking about Discovery, they mixed their time travel. They did the same thing here by having Captain America show up as an old man. Because if he was in a new time, him going back in time, create a new timeline, then he wouldn't be in this timeline.
Yes, and I thought that too. Like I did notice that that Captain America should have been in a separate timeline, the old Captain America, and he shouldn't have been able to come back. But that wasn't a deal breaker for me. I mean, they've screwed up that one. In general, that was part of one of my least favorite things of this movie. Was the Captain America thing. I didn't like that. That's what they did with him. I thought that was a little too forced. Like he's going back to have this love with. I don't know. I didn't like that at all. So I don't hold that against the previous time travel logic in the movie.
But it's like I said, it's not a deal breaker for me. I still love the movie. I'm not letting that interfere with how good I thought the movie was.
Well, it's not even a deal breaker for the time travel logic for me because the rest of it worked. It's just that one scene that they kind of screwed up. But
I'm a bit iffy on the whole Type 3 time travel though, because what if Captain America, when he goes back to 2012, he says, "Oh, pardon me," and this guy walks left when he was supposed to walk right. Does that create a whole nother timeline where he walks right instead of walks left?
It depends on if something big happens when he walks right. I wasn't clear, and I mean I don't really care either way, but I wasn't clear if they created several different alternate timelines or just one where all of those things that they changed were all true. So all the things that they changed, like Loki gets a hold of the Tesseract and disappears with it. That wasn't supposed to happen. Captain America has a fight with himself. Captain America says "Hail Hydra" to the guy, so the guy now thinks he's in on the Hydra thing.
Captain America kicking Captain America's ass. I wonder if that
yeah, Captain America gets his ass kicked by himself. The Infinity Stones were taken and brought back, but now Thanos has left. And he got killed. So Thanos in this timeline, I don't know if there's several different timelines, but in this timeline, there is no Infinity War because Thanos never gets the Infinity Stones because he just gets killed in the future. So
that's a good question. I mean, I don't know, but I was just assuming that it actually created multiple timelines. So,
because there was a line when at the end where I think it was Captain America or Bruce Banner, one of them said, like, we got to get these stones back or it'll create all kinds of wonky alternate timelines. Because when that bald chick was talking to Bruce Banner, she just made it out like it's going to be one timeline. She showed the little thing like that if you don't return these time stones, that's all well and good for your timeline, but that doesn't too good for us when we don't have the time stone to defend ourselves.
Maybe she was just talking about the one time stone that she was given.
Yeah. Yeah, and honestly, it doesn't really matter to me either way whether there's multiple time. But they've already created most extra timelines. It's just they don't want to create specific timelines where, um, people don't have the infinities like the Doctor Strange people don't have the Infinity Stones to defend the universe or whatever, like where the time stones are missing. They don't want to create those specific timelines because then that like millions of people will die in those timelines. So, but they actually helped at least one timeline where there's no Thanos. I don't know if there's multiple timelines like that, but they actually did help one timeline. So, I think for this film, this was the best time travel logic they could have used. I don't think this would have worked as a let's change the past thing. I think it's going to create too many. I think that I generally don't like that type of time travel logic because there's always opens the door for too many time paradoxes and it's almost impossible to avoid them. When you're just saying, oh, you create another timeline, you don't have to worry about time paradoxes.
I almost would have preferred a type 1 time travel though.
Is that where everything whatever happens?
So it doesn't necessarily create another thing. It's like it was always meant to happen. Like if Hulk comes back and takes the time stone, and it was like, yeah, but it doesn't make sense. Well, I'm gonna bring it back. So it's always meant to happen that way.
Yeah, but then you get into then they would have to eliminate the scenes where Captain America fights himself, where Loki disappears, because that didn't always happen.
Well, maybe Captain America was always meant to fight himself. We just didn't see it.
But the Loki you would think that Captain America would be like, remember that time I fought myself? Like, I don't know. I don't think
the thing wouldn't work, though, because
the Thanos thing wouldn't work at all. I mean, they could have used that time travel logic, but they would have had to change things. They wouldn't have been able to have the same scenes that they had in the movie. So I don't know. I thought this time travel logic was the perfect time travel logic for this particular film.
Okay, so sorry, we're kind of building off of our discovery discussion because someone in the chat, or some dude in the chat, I should say, is saying, "Can you explain what type 1, 2, or 3 time travels are?" So I'm actually borrowing this from this YouTube channel I watch called Lore Runner. I don't know if he made it up or if he's getting it for someone else, but it's an easy term, so I'm just using it. So type 1 time travel is like what's seen in Lost and 12 Monkeys, where like whatever has happened to happen. So if you go back in time and do something, you were always meant to do it. Like it always happens. Like there's no possible way to change anything because whatever you did already happened. And type 2 time travel is if you go back and do something, you altered the one timeline. You changed the past, so you created the timelines different now, so you have to go back and change it in order to fix the one timeline. Whereas type 3 time travel is you go back and you change something, it creates an alternate timeline. So now there's 2 parallel universes, one of what happens with the change you made and the one you came from that was before the change. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. Yeah. So this was type 3. The least used one in pop fiction or and they go through. I love the scene they go through all the list of movies like Back to the Future, Terminator, Hot Tub Time Machine. Like
at first, I thought Paul Rudd was in Hot Tub Time Machine, but I don't think he was. I think
no, I don't think he was.
Cusack was
but
that would have been funny if he was. Though.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah,
but it's funny because they were referencing Back to the Future 2 specifically, and like, oh, you're gonna get the Almanac. Don't just buy a sports almanac.
Yeah, he said. He said, well, we just got to follow the rules of time travel. Don't interact with ourselves and don't make sports bets. And Iron Man's like, you're not seriously like basing this off of Back to the Future 2, are you?
And that's funny because they pretty much like they kind of did what they did in Back to the Future 2, because Back to the Future went back to the events of the first movie, and that's what they were doing in this movie. They were going back to the events of earlier movies, kind of like Back to the Future 2 did.
Yeah, and it was honestly at that point where I was still on the fence. Is this going to be a great movie or not? Because if it's just all about them, like, and I'm on the record as saying I know you and I disagree with this, but I watched Back to the Future 1 and 2 back to back, and I thought there was a tremendous obvious drop in quality, way down to the floor when I went to Back to the Future 2. And I know you don't agree with me on that, but a lot of that was just like, oh, let's just relive the first movie. Like, so I didn't want. I was worried that it was going to turn into that, and it really didn't. It went beyond that, so I was thankful after. But as I was watching it, I was worried that that's what we're going to. Oh, let's just do a shout out to the previous movies, and that's all we're going to do, and that would have sucked. But that's not really what it was.
Well, I think that's a different perspective because I love Back to the Future too. So when they were doing this shit, I was all on board. Like I had no question. I was like, "This is awesome! I love it." They're going back to previous movies. It's so great. So I was in heaven, absolutely. Because as I said, I read that spoiler, so I kind of knew it was gonna. I knew it was gonna happen with Avengers, but I didn't know it was gonna happen like with all these other movies. And I think this was the perfect way to pay homage. This is like, I should say, it's like the season finale. It's like wrapping everything up. Some major characters die. So I love that. Those.
Well, you and I have also talked about callbacks to previous within a TV series, callbacks to previous episodes or previous series when we're talking about Star Trek, that can be done well or not done well. Like it could be either be, did you see that? Oh, it's just like the old. Or it could be done well. To me, Back to the Future 2 was and this was done well. But I was worried. I hope when I was watching, I was like, I hope that it's done well, and it was. It turned out really well.
But I want to circle back to Captain America because that's another point where I think I disagree with you because I actually love that ending for Captain America. Time travel logic aside, and I've heard some people come up with some fan-splaining excuses of how he could have got there. Oh, maybe he used the print protocols to change to a different timeline. I was like, all right, whatever. But leaving that aside, I thought that was a perfect ending for Captain America because if you follow him up from his movies, like he was like taking out of time from the 40s to like the 2011 or 2012 whatever, and he never really got to live his life. I think some people speculate that he's still a virgin and he never gets. So it seemed to me like that was like the perfect ending, and they played up in like Winter Soldier and other movies how regretful he was that he never got to be with what's her face, something Carter,
Margaret, I think.
Is that her name?
I don't know.
Agent Carter is what I know.
Margaret.
But, yeah, maybe. But so he never got to be with her, so I thought it was the perfect ending for him. And because I kind of knew, like, outside knowledge that Chris Evans didn't want to do any more Marvel movies. He like tweeted before saying, all right, it's good being involved. So it was something that was, and so I kind of knew that he was going to leave, so I was expecting him to die, but I thought this was actually a much better ending for him rather than dying. I think this was fitting. Peggy Carter, yes, thank you. A couple people.
Peggy, okay. Yeah, I mean, I didn't hate it, but I just think of all the characters, he had my least favorite ending. I don't know. I thought it was a little forced, I'm like, it's kind of, I mean, this is jumping in the Discovery, but it's kind of the same issues that we've talked about. Well, why I didn't like, and those of you who didn't watch Discovery, sorry, you won't know what I'm talking about. Well, why I didn't like the Hugh coming back scene, because I liked how that affected Stamets' character. I liked how not seeing his love affected Captain America's character. So I thought it was a little corny that he got to go back. But I mean, it's not a deal breaker. It's not anything I'm still giving it a 9.5 or a 10 out of 10. Maybe I'm thinking about it, I'm going to have to give it a 10. But so I still absolutely loved this movie. So it's not like a huge thing. It's just like, I think out of all the characters' endings, his was my least favorite, but that's not something I hated or anything like that.
Yeah. I don't know. I loved it. That's just me.
Yeah.
Maybe a slight little issue. Again, it's not that big of a deal, but maybe a slight little, something that irked me a little bit is that I wish they would have used Captain Marvel more.
Yes, that was actually my number one issue with this movie.
Yeah, really.
Which, I mean, I'm giving it a 10, so it's not like I had a lot of huge issues, but They make a big deal at the post-credit scene where Nick Fury sends a signal to Captain Marvel. They went out of their way to make a whole movie about her backstory. Everybody that I talked to, everybody that I watched online, everybody assumed Captain Marvel was going to play a huge role in this movie. And I mean, I guess you could say they couldn't have won without her because she kind of, kept Thanos busy long enough for Iron Man to come in there
as well.
What's that?
She destroyed that ship.
She destroyed the ship. Yes, she did, and she also brought Iron Man back,
Yeah.
which he ended up being key. But so she did help the cause. Like they wouldn't have been able to do it without her. But I was totally expecting to see her more in this movie than what we got.
Yeah. I do think like she did play a role, but it's like, why make it such a big deal out of her? Why show the little pager and then have her movie come out right before that? She's not that instrumental. But I heard the other perspective that they didn't want her to be too powerful or too much like a Mary Sue, that she just shows up, he's a Deus Ex Machina, and saves the day. So I kind of get that perspective too.
Yeah, but how's she going to save the day if she went back in time with them? I mean, if she was in the movie more, like the shit has already happened. Like, how is she going to save the day more than what she did? I mean,
yeah, that's a good point. They could have had her in the movie more without her necessarily saving the day.
Yeah, I don't know. That's actually probably my number one biggest, I wouldn't say complaint, disappointment in the movie. Like I was disappointed that we didn't get more Captain Marvel. And at one point I was like, she better as hell come back at the end, because if this just to come back in the end, I'm going to be pissed. So,
I was thinking the same thing. It seemed like a lot of buildup, and we were talking about this before we went live too, is that I was expecting to see the post-credit scene of Captain Marvel in this movie where Captain Marvel shows up and says, "Where's Fury?" I want to see the rest of that scene, but the movie just starts with her already being there and going to get Iron Man. So I thought that was a disappointment. I feel robbed that we didn't get to see the rest of that post-credit scene, to see her introduction, how the Avengers reacted to her showing up.
I agree. And I wonder if that's the scene that's on the cutting room floor. Like if they filmed the scene such as that and didn't make it, but I don't know. But it was, I was like, wait, what? I was just kind of, it took me a little bit to like, what? They already know each other? What? Huh? Like I was expecting them to be introduced to each other. To see the post-credit scene and then go beyond that is what I was expecting to see.
Now, I do have to congratulate you, because when I was watching your review of the first 10 movies, you talked about Infinity War, and you made it before you saw Endgame, but I was watching it after I saw Endgame, and you were talking about Doctor Strange must have kept Iron Man alive because Iron Man needed to play a pivotal role. Like that I didn't think of that before I saw the movie, but once I did, I was like, yeah, you're 100% right. Doctor Strange knew that Iron Man was the one that needed to wield the Infinity Stones and defeat Thanos.
Yeah, and that didn't occur to me until I just did my rewatch. As I was watching, I was like, wait a minute, he gave up the time stone specifically to save Iron Man. So he must know that Iron Man, and the one successful outcome, that Iron Man is the one who does it. And then when I watched this movie, at first I thought, oh, it's because Iron Man came up with the way to time travel. But it's more, which they did need him for that, but it was more than that. He was actually the one who defeats Thanos. So, my speculation was, and they didn't spell this out in the movie necessarily, but that Doctor Strange probably saw in every outcome, Thanos is getting that time stone regardless. So it doesn't matter whether it gives it to him or not. The key is saving Iron Man. Like, here, take this and don't kill Iron Man because he's the one who's going to defeat you later. And we're also like the scene in this movie a little bit before that when Iron Man's like, so you said that there's one possible outcome, and he's like, well, if I tell you, it won't happen, because he can't tell Iron Man he's gonna die.
Yeah, that's true. But you notice, like right before Iron Man, when their signal, Doctor Strange is kind of signaling him, kind of egging him on.
Yeah. I did notice that too.
But he didn't outright tell him, though. It was just But yeah, I did like that a lot. It's funny when I first saw Infinity War, that was one of the complaints I had about it. It makes no sense for Doctor Strange to give the Thanos the Infinity Stone just to save Iron Man. But I did say the only thing will make it better if he did that for a reason, because he knew it would lead to the only way to defeat Thanos, which is the case. So now I'm happy with it. Although I will say I'm still kind of dubious on the whole. Oh, there's only one outcome when we win. Because I don't know. I don't really buy that. I can't buy that there's no possible outcome where Star-Lord doesn't actually attack Thanos, because they would have won otherwise. And I think there's all these other possibilities. There's a lot of, like, maybe Thor hit him in the neck instead of in the head, and a different possibility. I don't know. That seems like plot convenience, but again, not a deal breaker, not a big deal, just a little quorum.
It was just to, like, really raise the stakes. You know, there's 1,400,000 blah blah blah. Possible futures, and only one we win. Like, so just really make the stake. But yeah, they didn't. I don't know. I agree with you. I think it's a little silly, but at the same time, like, if he had said, "Oh well, there's 55 possible," it would just not have been as. There's actually 272 where we could win. It's not as dramatic. Like, it's not as, it doesn't carry the same weight. So I understand why they said one. I don't know. I think it works for the story, even if it is a little ridiculous.
Yeah, so I also wanted to talk about Black Widow, because that's another character I totally was not expecting to die, because I heard she's getting her own movie. And that must not have been the case. That must be bullshit.
Or it's going to be a prequel or something.
Yeah, it could be a prequel, or maybe an alternate timeline, or maybe they bring her back to life.
No, I think that would be horrible if they brought her back to life.
I wouldn't mind it, to be honest, because they were kind of, I don't know, I think they left a thread there with the Hulk saying, "Oh, I tried so hard to bring her back and I just couldn't." Well, maybe he actually didn't realize it. Or maybe Iron Man did when he did his snap.
Yeah, I don't know.
And I heard, like, apparently in the comics, the people who die for the Soul Stone get trapped in the Soul Stone, so they're still there in the Soul Stones. So some people are saying that, but I wouldn't mind. But I think that's because, yeah, I was like, oh yeah, Hawkeye is going to die because he's not coming out with him. Although I think he's having his own show in the Disney streaming service.
I don't know. I'll be honest, like, during that scene, I was 50-50. I was like, I don't know who's going to win this. Like, I had no clue. I was actually, if I would have put money, I would have bet Hawkeye to be the one to die, but I wasn't. I was like, I don't know what's going to happen here.
I thought that was an amazing scene, though. Like, I was like, yeah, I think it was very emotionally effective. I think it makes sense for the characters that they both thought, they actually, like, fighting each other to be the one to sacrifice themselves. Like, that was just perfect.
Yeah.
But the whole, and yeah, I don't know about the whole, like, Red Skull being like, one of you must sacrifice yourself. It's like, no, he said that you have to give up what you love the most. And someone else, I think another reviewer pointed out, what if two people didn't really like each other? Screwed.
Well, he might have said what you love the most in Infinity War, but here he didn't say the most. He just said you must give up what you love.
I thought he said the most.
No, I don't think he did. Not in this movie, because that kind of raised my, like, because I was looking for that, because I was like,
really?
I don't think that they would love each other the most. So I thought he just said love, something you love. He might have said the most in the first, in Infinity.
Yeah, but I thought he said it again here. I'm pretty sure I noticed.
I don't think he did.
I'm paid to see the movie again. Just
yeah.
I'm pretty sure, but it doesn't really matter. I mean, same thing.
Earl Grey 007 says women movement. I don't know what you're referring to, but I did think it was cool. I'm just the scene where Captain Marvel has the the glove, and she's got to take care of the glove. And it was like, well, she's gonna have help. Oh, I'm here, and like it was all women who came.
I thought that was great. It's kind of like some people were saying there are not enough female superheroes in the Marvel universe. I was like, no, we got shitloads here. They're all together, and they're charging. Yeah, but I love that actually. I thought that was really cool. And it's. I mean, I can see how some people would say it's like fan servicey because they had pretty much every single fucking hero that's ever been in any Marvel movie that's still alive show up at that one part. And I thought it was great. I thought it was the perfect ending to it. No, I can't. There's so many. I'd have to watch the scene again because there's so many people to keep track of. Was Korg and that other dude there at the end as well? I can't remember.
Wait, who?
Korg, the rock guy from Thor Ragnarok.
No, I think they're just hanging out in New Asgard.
That was such a great scene.
Can we get into the New Asgard because?
Oh yeah, sure.
Because I apparently had a misunderstanding. Because if you saw my review of Infinity War, I was like, "Well, I didn't like how like they just go and just kill off." I just thought all those people were dead. Because how did the Rock guy and the Valkyrie survive?
Apparently, and I've heard this because some people said this back when Infinity War came out, but it's like extra material because it didn't happen on screen. But apparently, like I think people involved in the production like are hinting that they got away in the escape pods.
And I wish we had seen that because I thought they all died, and I was like, "How? What are they doing there?" And like, so there were people who not only escaped the Asgardian ship, but also didn't get turned into ash. That there was made enough to make a new Asgard. Like I was like, wait, what? Huh? I was happy to see those characters, but I assumed they were dead.
Yeah.
I was kind of pissed that they just died off screen. I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, it is. But they got away off screen, which is kind of shitty. They should have. But apparently they're saying there's just only a few who weren't able to get away. So those are the ones that died, but most of them got away, which is like, okay, whatever.
I don't like that happened off screen, but I was also happy to see those characters.
Yeah.
It's cool to see Valkyrie. And Earl Grey says Big Lebowski Thor was great. Yeah, that was awesome. When Tony Stark called him Lebowski. Yeah. But yeah, I was happy to see those characters. I just thought that they were dead.
He says it's from the comics that Asgard comes to Earth. Yeah. And that's like
well that's all well and good. I just would have liked to have seen.
Yeah, exactly. I think that what's this dude Odin in Thor Ragnarok said, when he was in Norway, it's like, oh, this is a good place to live or something like that. It's kind of foreshadowing that they'd be coming there for that.
Yeah, but back to your thing about the things are gonna be all wonky when the 50% of the people come back. Like, what? I mean, did they take over somebody else's town, or where did they build that? Like, I was like, well, it doesn't matter if 50% of the people die, but those people come back, like, yay! Or I don't know, was there just open country? They just built that whole town there, or I don't know.
Yeah, like there's a scene at the end when Spider-Man hugs like his friend, and I was like, well, I guess he vanished as well. Otherwise, he'd be 5 years older.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And I was watching like if you've seen the preview for the next Spider-Man movie,
I haven't seen it. No.
The trailers from Far From Home. Pretty much all the characters who were in the first Spider-Man movie are in that one. So I guess they all vanished as well because they were 5 years older.
Yeah. Yeah.
But unless they try to say it's like taking place before Infinity War, which I actually hope they don't.
Yeah.
That would kind of annoy me. But they are doing a speaking of the streaming service I mentioned earlier, they're doing a Loki show. And a lot of people were wondering how they could do that with he's dead, but it seems now it's going to take place in an alternate timeline where he got away with the Tesseract. But another show I heard that they're doing a streaming service that I'm actually really excited for is apparently it's going to be a cartoon, but they're doing the What If show.
Oh, cool. That used to be my favorite comic book.
Yeah, that was my favorite comic. The whole
Yeah. And those dudes made an appearance in was it Ragnarok or one of the
I think
Guardians
it was Guardians of the Galaxy 2.
2? Yeah.
Yeah.
It was one of the ones I just rewatched recently. Yeah. With Stan Lee there.
Yeah, it's implying that Stan Lee was like working for the Watchers, and that's why he pops up in all the places.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, they won't be able to follow up on. That's a
Yeah.
disappointment. But
Yeah.
but yeah, I love the What If, but they could sort of play off all the different like timelines that were sort of
Yeah.
created and be like, oh, this has happened. What if and whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I don't know. Was there anything else about the movie you want to talk about?
Yes. We did the Doctor Strange thing. Oh, I want to talk about Iron Man's death because I thought that was perfect. I thought the fact that he sacrificed himself. I don't know if you were quite on the same. I think we might have been on the same page as far as him in Civil War. I don't know if you were whether you were outraged with him as much as I was. I can't remember. Like
and
after
which one?
Civil War. Like,
oh yeah, I was. Yeah,
I just thought he was a dick for the whole movie, not just the end either. But the end.
Well, the end was the worst part of it, though.
He was completely unreasonable.
Well, that's what I said. A lot of people who reviewed the movie was like, "Oh, the good thing about this movie is you see both their points of views and you join one on the other side." I'm like, "Bullshit! Captain America's right. Iron Man's a dickhead. I don't see his point of view."
Yeah, I mean, he knows perfectly well that Bucky was being controlled by Hydra, so he's like, I don't care, I'm gonna kill him anyway. Like, and he's fighting against his so-called friend, who is friends with this guy who didn't really kill his parents because he was under control by Hydra, and he also was playing right into the hands of the villain. So he was just a complete I was like, I have no respect for this character. He wasn't bad in Infinity War. I started getting a little more.
See, I didn't really take my anger out on the character. I just chalked it up to bad writing. I went existential and be like, okay, they're just writing this very poorly for plot convenience because they want to do the fight.
Yeah. Yeah, but I thought the character. I love the character in this movie, and I love that. I love that he had went and had a family because they talked one of the movies they were talking about that I can't remember which one it was now because I just rewatched a bunch of them, but I love that that was fulfilled, and I love that he he was like, no, let's not change the timeline because I want to keep my daughter. And but then I did really love the ending and the funeral scene at the end. Although there were some weird people there, like that asshole guy that William Hurt plays. I saw him in the corner.
Oh, was he there?
Yeah. He was kind of one of as they were panning through the crowd. He was
what
kind
the
of
hell is he doing?
Yeah, I know. I was like, somebody should kick his ass right now. Like, he doesn't have any right to be there. Yeah, but that was a really great funeral scene, and I thought it was a great closure for the character. So I did like, and of course the fact that it all tied into the Doctor Strange thing, and that my theory was correct. So that I of course liked all that. But I thought it was a good ending for the character.
Yeah, absolutely. And I totally agree. And other people pointed out other videos I watched that it was sort of a theme throughout all of the movies he's been in is that he's kind of been unwilling to like sacrifice himself, or self-sacrifice has been a hard thing for him. So it's kind of a really great, conclusion to his story arc that's how he ends. He sacrifices himself to save everything, to save all life everywhere, because this time Thanos was saying he's going to wipe out everything, not just half. So he sacrificed himself to save it all. So I think that was a great arc for his character.
Yeah, and in the chat, Earl Grey 007 is saying, greater good seldom loses to self-sacrifice. And above that, he said, like what his father said. Is that what his father said? Greater good seldom loses to self. Yeah, it is what he said. So that makes me wonder if having that encounter with his father influenced him at all to do what he did at the end.
Yeah, maybe. And Valentin Voss says I expected Coulson at the funeral. Well, the Kevin Feige in the movie division doesn't consider the Agents of Shield canon. They want nothing to do with this. So as far as they're concerned, Coulson's dead. Like I don't think you're never going to see anything having to do with the Agents of Shield or any of the Netflix Marvel shows in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Yeah.
Now, it's going to be a different story when it comes to the Disney streaming service because these are going to be directly tied to the universe because Kevin Feige's also doing them. So that's going to be different. But the ABC stuff never going to show up in the movie.
Yeah. Yeah, but yeah, it seemed like they did. I mean, pretty much cover everybody. Like everybody who's still alive was at that funerals.
Yeah, there's that one kid. I was like, "Who the hell is that?" But I watched a YouTube video saying it's the kid who was in Iron Man 3. I did not recognize him at all.
Oh, yeah, I don't really remember Iron Man 3. Oh, and also at the ending, at the ending credits, they go through all the actors who were in the movie, and they go through like the B characters and end with the main characters. And first of all, my first thought was, good God, there's so many Hollywood legends who showed up in the Marvel movies. Like Michael Douglas.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, good God. But like they show like Natalie Portman. I was like, Natalie Portman? Who was she? Who was Natalie Portman in these movies?
You don't remember?
No.
Did you ever see the first two Thor movies?
No.
Okay, that would be why. She was in the first two Thor movies. And apparently, like, she didn't want to do the Marvel movies anymore. And so I'm surprised they got her back, but she seemed okay with just coming back for a brief cameo. But they had to write her off. Like, I think it was Thor Ragnarok. Someone, like, they just had a fan come up to Thor. It was like, oh, whatever happened to Jane Foster? He's like, oh, we broke up. We moved on, blah, blah. Because they just had to write her off.
Oh, so she was Jane.
Yeah.
She was Jane Foster. Okay.
I just wanted to mention in the chat, Valentin Voss said that they did cameo Jarvis from Agent Carter. That was ABC. Okay, all right. So maybe that's the exception. I think I wouldn't. I mean, that's kind of a minor thing, just a Jarvis, because Jarvis has been mentioned in cinematic canon. Yeah. Well, I don't think that's as big of a deal as showing that Coulson's still alive. I think that would have been.
Yeah, because Coulson's dead in the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like the Star Wars thing. Like they took Darth Maul because he was brought back to life in the TV show, the cartoon, so they put him in the fucking Solo, and I think that was dumb because he's dead in the movies.
Well, that confused the living hell. Yeah. I didn't know he came back to life in some TV show. What the hell is he doing there? Yeah.
Jane, so they're saying in the chat Jane Foster. Isn't that what I said? Didn't I say
that is what you said, yeah.
Okay, all right. Okay, maybe I said that before I said their name. But anyway, I thought there was something else I want to talk about, but I'm blanking on it at the
moment. I'm certain there was something else I wanted to talk about. But I get the main things when I wanted to talk about the time travel, I wanted to talk about the Doctor Strange thing. Yeah. Oh, here's a question for you. Are they going to do a Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 with Thor?
Yeah, that I don't know. I think that's and they are definitely doing a Guardians of the Galaxy 3. That's for sure.
If they are, then it's going to have Thor in it, I think, because it would be weird not to if they left it like that.
I mean, they can always be like, oh, the Thor went that way or something. I think that would be annoying.
That would be dumb, though. Into that with Thor in there. So then I would also assume that Nebula would be a part of the crew now.
Instead. Yeah, that I would totally expect.
Yeah.
I mean, this seems like everything I heard about now. Getting off topic here, but everything I heard about season 4 of The Expanse is that they're going to start the season with Bobby Draper back on Mars, which is kind of pissing me off because she was on the Rosinante when they went through the ring gate, and all of a sudden, like, oh, she went back to Mars. Like, that's going to annoy me. So it seems like it would be the same thing if they did that with Thor. Like, oh, he just went that way or whatever.
No, I hate stuff. Yeah, and I like I like the scene at the end when he's like, "You know I'm in charge, right?" Because it seemed like you're map that the way you touched my map indicated you think you're in charge. No, no, no. They're like, oh, they should have a knife fight. But
Um, so the one thing that also bothered me a little bit is Gamora, because I don't like the fact that they brought it back to life, which I'm happy with, but it's not her. It's a past self.
yeah,
So she doesn't know who's Quill is or who anyone else is, and I kind of don't like that. And I think they had said before, like the director said, that the Guardians of the Galaxy 3 is going to focus on Gamora. So that means you're going to have to like reintegrate her, and she's going to have to do everything all over again. To me, that just seems repetitive, and I'm not.
So that Gamora stayed in the present.
Yeah.
Because I didn't notice. Was she on the ship with Thor there at the end? I didn't notice her.
No, she wasn't on the ship. Like Quill was looking for her. Like they showed him scanning, so she was trying to figure out where she was, but she's still in the present, because I'm for sure that she didn't get a finger snapped by Iron Man.
Yeah.
And so, and they didn't go back to the past, so she'd still be there somewhere in the present.
Okay. Yeah, because she wasn't on the ship with them, but
yeah.
I mean, honestly, I would rather they just move on from her, because it's just go on, like have Nebula in there instead of her, and I don't know, but whatever.
Symmetry says no, he was looking for her on the screen, and Thor kept messing with it. Yeah, that's what I was saying. He was looking for her, so she wasn't on the ship, but she just went fucked off somewhere else on her own. Which I don't know. I'd rather have her back, but the real her, not like a past her.
Exactly. Yeah, I agree. I would rather. What I'm saying is, I'd rather they just move on from her than have the past version of her. If they're gonna have her at all, it should be like she's stuck in this soul stone, like Natasha is, and they can both come out. That would be fine. But it's just,
yeah.
I mean, I would actually be more okay with Natasha coming back than Tony Stark. Tony Stark was very final.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I totally agree with that. That was very final.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I heard that Chris Evans and Robert Downey Jr. were probably going to battle out of the Marvel stuff, because they've been doing it for a really long time.
Yeah.
So I thought it was a great way to send them both off. I thought it was great.
Yep. So we're going to see a Captain America with Sam as Captain America at some point?
Yeah, apparently. Like, that happened in the comic books, apparently.
It must have happened after I was in the comic books. I remember there was a period of time where Steve Rogers got fired as Captain America, and so they got this other dude who was kind of an asshole, just kind of a moron, and Steve Rogers was going around with a black Captain America outfit.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
And I forgot this is when in the 90s, like when I was in the books. But when Sam became a Captain America, must have happened later after I stopped.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. So, and going back in the chat, Symmetry saying, completely agree with you guys. Not my Gamora. That's right, exactly. And then Earl Grey says, "Oh, Star-Lord's infatuated with Gamora. He will win her over." But the thing is that he already done that. I don't need to see him do it again.
Exactly. I totally agree with that. Yeah, definitely.
Well, something else I wanted to say about, I don't know, because also in the comics, like Bucky became Captain America, and then Sam became that Captain America. But I guess they're like skipping Bucky and just having it go to Captain America. Oh, I know what I was going to mention. The whole thing about Hulk, because this is what I was hoping that they would do. Where, because I was saying Hulk annoyed me in Infinity War, like the way he refused to go out and go, no, like that really pissed me off. But I said the one exception would be if they're setting up for him to become like permanently a mixture between Hulk and Bruce Banner. So the fact they did that was great. And I called it, because in the 90s in the comics, it was the Hulk was gray when that happened. Yeah. So I referred to it as the Gray Hulk, but they didn't make him gray. But that's okay.
Yeah, I kind of gave him gray just for the whole time. So that's fine.
But I also wish, like, because they just flash forward to 5 years and all of a sudden he's like that. I kind of wanted to see that transformation, but in the grand scheme of things, it's not that big of a deal. It's probably
I think that would have been too much. I don't know.
yeah.
I'm fine just jumping ahead and it's just what I know. And what else I want to talk about is Ant-Man. Ant-Man. I knew the two that I thought were going to play a big role. One of them didn't. That was Captain Marvel. The other one was Ant-Man. But he did end up playing a huge role in this movie. He was like one of the main guys in this
Yeah,
movie.
he got the whole ball started.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I heard someone else say, you know, how Doctor Strange said there was all these other possibilities when there's only one where we win, and they were speculating. I wonder if one of the possibilities where they didn't win is when the rat never stepped on the controls and never got Ant-Man out of the quantum realm.
Yeah.
Because really, yeah, like he kicked everything in motion. Like he didn't actually have that much screen time or that much to play after that, but he's the one that got like
really. It seemed to me like he was in the movie quite a lot. Like I felt like he was one of the major players in this movie.
I didn't get that impression. I mean, kind of, sort of, but like he left. He like fucked off from the past, and when Iron Man and Cap went to the 70s. Whatever.
Yeah, for a short period of time, but I didn't feel like he was out of it. But anyways,
yeah. So someone asked a question in the chat. Was it? Oh, Simba Trade. Do you guys feel we were robbed of Hulk redemption fight with Thanos? I didn't really. I wasn't. I kind of forgot about that.
Yeah, honestly, I didn't even think of it.
I don't think that was totally necessary. And that's the other thing that pissed me off is when Thanos kicked his ass in the first movie. I thought that made him too much of a Mary Sue. I didn't like it. But yeah, I didn't really need to see him get redemption. I mean, he's the one that used the stone. I think that's why he couldn't fight, because his arm was all fucked up after he used the stone. And I thought that was kind of his redemption, is that he's the one that got to undo what Thanos did. So that's good enough for me.
Yeah, I didn't even really think about the Hulk's redemption. I did like that Scarlet Witch got a little bit in on him. He's like, "You took everything from me." He's like, "I don't even know who you are," because this is 2014 Thanos. But I did like. I wouldn't have probably noticed if she didn't face Thanos again either, honestly. But I did like that she got to go in there and get her licks in on Thanos.
So some dude says when they set you up, you need to be strong enough to use the gauntlets and survive. Smart Hulk felt like a bit of plot convenience so everyone could be brought back before Iron Man got the stones. I suppose. It didn't bother me at all.
Yeah.
Like
I didn't. Yeah. It didn't bother me.
I don't think it was plot convenience. I think it was well planned out, because they were sort of, as I said, they were kind of teasing the whole Smart Hulk with him going no in the previous movie.
Yeah.
I mean, so I'd call it more of setting up. Plot convenience to me is more if it feels out of place and just done for the plot and not for the characters. For me, this kind of worked for the characters as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that.
Cool.
And also with Ant-Man, I liked how they got the Wasp in there in the end, and she's like, "Okay, Cap," because she was making fun of him for calling him Cap in the previous movie.
Yeah.
And the Wasp. So I like that everybody came back in the end. Like everybody. I just love this ending so much. We're just like everybody comes back, and that scene where, like I said, I don't know about your theater, my theater, when they started opening up all those portals and all those people came in, everybody's like, yeah. Like,
no, my theater was a bit boring. No one was cheering.
My theater was cheering at everything. Like, it cheered when Thanos turned into ashes. And
oh, really? Well, it's probably might be good because I didn't miss any dialogue or anything.
Yeah. It didn't cause me to miss any dialogue. But
well, I heard some other people complaining that they missed dialogue because people were cheering too much.
Yeah, it was more like clapping. It wasn't like, woo, it was like,
yeah, Symmetry says my whole theater clapped when we saw Stan Lee. Yeah, I think some people clapped for Stan Lee.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was probably the one exception. You gotta
Yeah,
clap.
people clap for Stan Lee too. Yeah.
Yeah, last cameo.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I like Scarlet Witch too. I like how she showed up and was like, "Oh, you took everything from me," and so I was like, "Do I know you?" Because you're from the past. And she said, "Oh, you will," but he won't. I guess he'll know her kicking his ass. Maybe that's what she
That's what I
meant. Yeah.
think that's what you meant. Yeah.
All right, I think we've been going long enough, so I think we can sort of wrap this discussion up. Unless you have any last thoughts on the movie.
No, I thought it was awesome. I very well am thinking about paying for it to see it again. Quite frankly.
Oh, really?
Maybe not immediately, but like it'll probably be in the theaters for another month.
Some dude in the chat says, "Get Danny some prim particles and to fix season 7, episode 6."
Yeah, I don't think there's no fixing that.
Yeah, no way to fix that. Oh my god. Yeah, cool. So yeah, I absolutely love this movie. I think it was perfect. I think I stand by, I think Infinity War was subpar. I didn't really like it. Like, to me, like, this was directed by the Russo brothers, and the Russo brothers also did Winter Soldier and Civil War. And to me, Winter Soldier was like a perfect movie. It was like awesome. Civil War was like, it had a lot of flaws and issues. And so for me, Infinity War was more like Civil War. I saw some of the same issues actually come up in both those movies. Whereas to me, this one was more like Winter Soldier, like the perfect also. In fact, better, because they had all the characters. They brought home the entire MC universe perfectly, and it was like the perfect wrap up. So it was everything that I wanted. Absolutely loved it.
I did. Someone in the chat earlier, I didn't mention this before, but someone in the chat earlier mentioned the Silver Surfer, and sometimes I forget. I haven't been a huge fan of the comics that in the MCU they have excluded the Fantastic Four and Silver Surfer
because they're owned by Fox.
Yeah,
but Disney bought out Fox, so a lot of these Fox characters could potentially come back into the MCU.
Yeah, they could come back. Yeah, which I often forget that those characters aren't in it because do we need them? I mean, it was great with
so many already, but they're talking about bringing the X-Men into the MCU, and I just don't see how that would work. I think.
Yeah, I mean, obviously in the comics they're all in the same universe, but yeah, here I don't see. But I always thought that was a little wonky. That even as a kid reading the comic books, how come everybody's like, "Oh, we hate mutants suck," but Spider-Man's okay just because he wasn't born that way? Like, I never really got that.
But it seemed like they also like tried to do a bit of the mutants, but transplanted to the superheroes. Like, they did that a bit in the Civil War, and they did that a lot with the Marvel Netflix shows. I don't know if you ever watched them, but I never watched. You didn't watch those?
I haven't watched any Netflix shows.
They're actually good, but but they had people be like, "Oh, you damn people with superpowers, you're freaks," and they're treating them just like they treat the X-Men, and they did that a little bit in Civil War as well. So that's why I don't think it would really fit, because they kind of established that there's not other people like that. But whatever.
Yeah, I don't see how those two universes can come together, but oh well.
Anyway, all right, let's go ahead and wrap this up. Thank you guys so much for joining. This is kind of a last minute thing. I just kind of did at the spur of it. I was so glad, Akton, that you could join in the last minute. So yeah, tell everyone where they can find you and what you're up to.
Yeah, check out my channel. I am reviewing Game of Thrones every week. This is Akton Tamko's channel. It's just under Akton Tamko on YouTube. I'm reviewing Game of Thrones every week. A huge episode coming tomorrow. I can't wait. This was a huge weekend for Endgame Friday and a huge White Walker battle on Sunday. Like, what else could you ask for if you're a nerd? I will be reviewing that weekly. Also, I just posted, if you're interested in Marvel movies, I just posted my review for 10 Marvel movies in which I rewatched. Actually, there were 2 that I saw for the first time, but I did a rewatch to prepare myself for Endgame, so everything would be fresh in my head. And I says, well, I'll just go ahead and review all those movies since I've never actually reviewed Marvel movies before on my channel. So there's that. Check out all my content on Star Trek as well. I'm in the middle of reviewing all the original series episodes, so all kinds of cool stuff on my channel. Please check it out, and thanks for watching.
Cool. And I'm Mark. My channel is Enchantment of Eternity. I do mainly Game of Thrones reviews. I also do a lot of Star Trek videos and videos on other shows like The Expanse and Lost. And every once in a while when I see a Marvel movie, I was like, hey, why don't I just come and talk about the Marvel movie? Cool. So yeah, be sure to check out my channel, subscribe, and thank you guys so much for watching. See you next time.